What's up, good people? Folk J Kid. I'm currently in Cincinnati, Ohio, my hometown. I'm headed to meet up with the next subject or the next person I'm going to interview for In the Car with My People. Very, very special person in my life. Person that raised me, person that made me into the man I am now and the man I continue to strive to be. Has a great story to tell, very inspirational. So we're headed that way. Driving through Forest Park right now, headed to our office. All right, good people. We are with my next subject for interview or In the Car with My People. This is my lovely mother, Roberta McClinon. And we're going to take some time to learn about my mom. Kind of tell her, I'm probably going to focus most on her health journey and also some things she's doing in business now. So to start off, just kind of tell everybody who you are, kind of give, some of your background growing up, where you grew up, and all that kind of stuff.
Ooh, okay. Well, actually, I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. However, when I was 2 years old, family moved back to Florida, Daytona Beach, Florida. So my early childhood, from like 2 to 11, was in Daytona Beach, Florida. And then we moved to Cincinnati when I was just shy of 11 years old. So basically, I've been to Cincinnati for the majority of my life since then. But I've also left Cincinnati, moved to Denver, moved to Nashville. Now I'm back in Cincinnati, been back about 5 years. So it's been kind of a road through all the journeys. I've been married, had my son, James Kendrick, remarried later, and have your sister, Alnisa. So you were what, 40, almost 46?
I was 46 in 3 weeks.
She's old.
Right.
And Alnisa's 35. So
what part of Cincinnati did y'all move to when you first got here?
Oh, when we first moved to Cincinnati, we moved in East End. A lot of people not familiar with East End. But at the time that we moved to Cincinnati, moved to the east from Florida, from Daytona Beach to Cincinnati, we lived in the East End. A lot of people don't know East End from that time. It was definitely a little different now. We weren't, you know, we weren't, we were considered, I guess, poor. We didn't have a lot. But we lived there just not long. Then we moved to, actually, at the time I went to Withrow Junior High School. No, I started at, it was an elementary school down there. I can't remember the name of that now. It's been a long time. But I started 7th grade at Withrow Junior High. A lot of people didn't know that there was a junior high school. Withrow had a junior high school. But that's where your Uncle Rudy went to. But I also I went to Sawyer when we moved to Evanston.
Okay.
Sawyer Junior High, which later you went to.
It was CBA.
CBA at that time. And I don't know what it is now.
It's last I saw was AWL, Academy of World Languages,
Academy
which
of
was
World Language.
where I started, where I went elementary for fourth and 5th grade, but it was at Shield then, so it's changed names a few times.
Yeah. So I went to Sawyer, then back to Withrow from the 10th through 11th, and that's where I graduated high school from. And actually getting ready to have going to my 50th high school reunion in September. Very excited about that. And you graduated from Withrow too, so you ended up you went to Sawyer, but it wasn't Sawyer. Then you went to Withrow, but it was you were in the Academy of World Languages, so you followed pretty much the same path that I did, the same junior high and high school that I went to. And then I've lived in different places around the city then.
Sorry, we had to stop for a minute. My man was getting on his motorcycle. But go ahead, Mom.
Okay. What did I say?
You were saying you graduated from Withrow.
Withrow.
I did too.
Yeah, we both went to Withrow and Sawyer, but it was Sawyer when I went, but it was CBA when he went there. And gosh, I moved all over different places in Cincinnati, so I've kind of been all over the city, different areas, Mount Auburn, Avondale, Pleasant Ridge, Mount Airy, just a lot of different places over my lifetime in Cincinnati. So I'm actually living in Fairfield now. So I've been back to Cincinnati almost 5 years now already. I can hardly believe that. But that's kind of the nuts and bolts of like that journey. Oh, my brothers and sisters, both of my parents are deceased. Mom and dad are deceased. Mom has been deceased almost 42 years. I was pretty young when she passed, 25, 26. Dad's passed when he was 80. I was 32 and pregnant with your sister when he passed. Brother Rudy passed about 4 years ago. My big brother. And then we have an older sister who's actually getting ready to turn 90 August the 13th. She'll be 90 years old. I'm going to see her. Well, I shouldn't be saying it because I didn't want her to know. No, she's not on Facebook or anything like that. So, but anyway, she'll be 90. Then we have a sister, Jewel. Jewel is 75. Rudy would have been 69, getting ready to turn 70. I am 67. Almost 68. Bernadette 65, and Charles, the youngest, is 59. So we're all our birthdays are between August, September, October, and November, and and it's something I just realized yesterday that we all were born in even number years. So we're either, when our birthdays come, we're either an even number or odd number. So we all get ready to turn even numbers, which is kind of my nerdy concept to me. My nerdy part of me just came out. Who thinks about things like that for me?
No, it's no thing. So after you graduated high school, you went to college for a while.
Yeah, went to college. Went to a couple of colleges. I didn't graduate at that time. I actually didn't know. The interesting thing. Sometimes we think we're supposed to know our path immediately after we get out of high school. Some people know what they're going to do. Some people don't. I was a good student. I was, top 10% of my class, had the grades and all that stuff, but I didn't have the direction of what I wanted to do in my life. So I kind of went to my freshman year, went to Earlham College in Richmond, Indiana, which was a very interesting ride because that's a Quaker college, and you would think that you would have it would be really low key, but it was a really, really progressive school at the time, early 70s. They actually had co-ed wings during that time. And they also at that time had gay and lesbian clubs. So people were able to come out even, and this is the early 70s. So that was really, really unusual. But it was not, that was just a normal thing. They, were able to just be themselves. People just didn't hide stuff like that. The curfew was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was a good girl.
right.
Seriously, good girl. And then I came back to Cincinnati. I went 1 year at Xavier University, and at that time, that's where Rudy went. So he was a superstar, football star doing football and basketball during that time. So he was a senior. It was a senior year, I believe, because I was in my sophomore year, and I only went there 1 year. And then I went to work. I went to secretarial school, ended up working there. I worked a couple of jobs as a clerk typist. And then in 78, I started working at P&G. And I worked there for 12 years. And because of health issues, I left, actually resigned. And then after 5 years, went back part-time and then started full-time and worked there another 8 years at P&G. So, but in between all that, I was an entrepreneur. The entrepreneurial spirit is in me because my parents owned restaurants, my uncles and aunts own their own businesses. So that entrepreneurial thing is kind of inside of me. Even at P&G, I took some type of test to see if I was more corporate or entrepreneurial. And I was literally off the charts to be an entrepreneur. So even though I worked corporate, I'm not the corporate person. I know how to be corporate. I know the things. I learned a whole lot about it. But I'm more of a free spirit, more than I realized. Until I got older and started doing things. I did Mary Kay. I was an insurance agent. Of course, I had secretarial service. What else? Then that's when I got into my health journey. So being ill, leading into the health thing, actually being sick is what led me to my passion. I don't even know where to start with that one because it's so much. I don't know. Maybe you can.
We'll come back to that. I'll still kind of give you more of your background. So,
okay.
I was born in 76. And it was just me. I mean, you and my dad got divorced when I was about what? Two. And it was just me and you for a while. I remember I was like, it's funny because I got, Jay will be 6 in October. And some of the stuff you got to do with me, latchkey.
Oh,
I could not imagine having to do that with Jay. Like I remember, it's weird. I've had a key to the house since I started school. I remember I used to have to put myself on the bus. We used to live in Kennedy Heights on Northdale, 3606.
Remember that?
Northdale. And I walk down to the corner, like by the Redwood, catch the bus, get myself off the bus, take myself home. I had to be home by myself for a few hours before you got off of work.
What age?
Just like kindergarten, first grade. Be by myself. I know, like when you used to do the Mary Kay stuff, like you would have to be gone in the evening sometime. I'm 6, 7 years old by myself, and I could imagine. I don't even like leaving Jay in a different room than me sometimes because I just be nervous, but it's what you had to do.
Yeah. And that time there was a name for it, latchkey kids. Right. So it wasn't that unusual. Our world has changed so much. I mean, not that I was very overprotective like all parents, but I was a single parent. It was just me, and I had to do what I had to do. I wasn't able to just like send him to pay sitters and all that type of thing. And that was not uncommon. It wasn't something that I did that was unusual at that time. That's what you did.
Right.
And as a mother, I still had my angst about it. I still didn't like it. I wish it was different, but it's like, okay, this is what we have to do. But I taught him You don't answer. I remember you couldn't answer if you answered the phone, there's certain things you could not say. I remember this story. I don't know if you remember. When I was working at P&G, I had a manager, and he was supposed to be going out of town, and I put his tickets. At that time, we were secretaries, and you did everything for your boss. You got his tickets, you did this, that. I had put his tickets, I thought I had put them in his box. I had put his tickets in the outbox. And so he's looking for his tickets. And so he's calling, and he called, and he found that out before I was able to get home. And he called the house, and he was asking you questions, and James wasn't giving him no information. When I came up, my manager came back from his trip, he said, you taught him well. He wasn't giving up no information. He wasn't saying no. He didn't say you were home or not. It was just, you weren't giving up no grapes. James wasn't giving up the grapes for nobody. And a friend of mine, Joyce, she said she used to call you just to see what you would say. And James, he said, girl, you got that boy trained. I said, I have to, because I'm not there. I can't let nobody know he's in that house by himself. James was like, no information, giving him nothing. Like, he probably was thinking like, my mama gonna kill me if I say it.
I couldn't do that with JJ. He gonna tell everything. Or he gonna say something, make him mad, and hang up the phone, because Jay off the chain. So I guess it's a good point to start talking about. The main thing I want to kind of talk about is your health journey and how it's led you to the things that you're doing today. So kind of just talk about like when you first start having issues with your health, and then what doctors and stuff was telling you the issues were.
Oh, wow, that's a long journey. First, I probably can go back. I found out later, from talking to my older sister Jewel, that I was born with sensitivities. I was allergic to baby powder, baby lotion, milk and all that. And back in the 50s, I was probably a test for the Similac, because she said that they had to give me Similac, which was not that common. That was very unusual. It's probably when they were first coming up with it, and I couldn't, so I had to use Similac. I couldn't drink milk. So that's probably when my first thing started. But the thing that was kind of the pivotal point, or what I would say was like the, I guess I'm not sure what the word to use, but kind of where the first big thing happened is just walking through the house one time at 16 years old, hit the floor, playing around with Rudy, acting silly, whatever we were doing. And for no reason, I just dropped, hit the floor, couldn't move, couldn't get up, couldn't talk or do anything. Mom took me to the doctor, and the only thing by that time, my body recovered. And just said, well, she might be a little anemic, which wasn't that unusual. So, and after that, life goes on. After while I was married to Dad, I just remember just getting sick, sometimes not feeling well, and just not really having energy and nothing in particular, and going to the doctors. And over those few years, nothing, they couldn't find anything in particular wrong. And have all kind of tests done, of course, and then it's like it's all in your head. You need to see a psychologist, you need to see a psychiatrist. It's all in your head. There's nothing wrong. And they were good for telling women that there was just something, it's all in your head. There's nothing wrong with you. So I went to chiropractors, I went to neurologists, I went to osteopaths, I went to pretty much any doctor, internal medicine doctors. I had all kind of tests done, blood work, and nothing. No, everything came out normal. There's nothing wrong. So something wrong with me. So it had to be something mentally wrong with me. And I remember one day at work, I got to work. I was sitting at my desk, and I just hit the floor, just dropped. It's like something is wrong. I couldn't even explain what was wrong. Something was just not right. And I just hit the floor. And I remember just dropping to the floor, and they had to call an ambulance. I got, taken out on the stretcher and all this stuff. And they took me to the doctor, and they did check, whatever they checked. And couldn't find anything else wrong, find anything wrong. Somehow ended up at a neurologist, and they did, back this time, the only MRI machine was in Fairfield, Ohio. And living in Mount Auburn, that was like going way, and, there was nothing in Fairfield at that time. Right. Mercy Hospital, and I had to have an MRI. And at that time, he told me, he said, everything's fine, but there's a little demyelinization is the word he used. And I'm like a word junkie, so I went and looked it up, and what that was, they're saying that but he told me, he said, well, you don't have to worry about anything till you get much older. So I'm in my 20s. I'm like, much older is like that's so far I can't see older. Right. I didn't see myself being old, 60, 70 years old, then I may have to worry about this issue. So demyelinization is like the
fatty,
the sheath that covers your nerves. Right. It's just like an extension cord where if you get some of that is frayed, right? It's shortages.
So I have shortages.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it is. But he didn't, no diagnosis, nothing else. So I'll go on, and I'm having all these issues. I'm getting worse. I'm having more problems with walking, and sometimes not being able to talk, and hitting the floor again, just dropping. I could be okay one minute, next minute I wasn't. So eventually I went back to the neurologist, and still at this time they did all the tests again, but couldn't even find a demyelinization, anything, nothing. And he gave me a diagnosis of MS. And I said, well, if the tests don't show anything, how can you say it's MS? He said, well, based on your classic symptoms, it's MS. I did have many of the very, very typical symptoms of multiple sclerosis. So during that time, let's see, I hadn't had amnesia yet.
I was like 8 or 9?
8, 9 or something like that.
So I know, I kind of remember you telling me, and like, I'm 8 or 9, so disease period, you just scared, like, oh, my mama gonna die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at first I was scared, and then, over time because all my life, because what's weird, all my life, you've had MS. And so as I was growing up, it just was part of our life, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, it was scary. It was scary for me, because at first I'm like, what does this mean? And again, Miss Researcher, I'm looking up everything that I can find about MS, what does this mean? And I'm talking to the doctor, and like, does that mean that I'm going to die? Does it mean that I'm going to be an invalid? All these things are going through my mind, and I'm having all these crazy symptoms, when I say extreme fatigue, I used to describe it as somebody just reaching up and just snatching my skeleton out of me, and I'm just this lump of whatever. And I never knew how long it was going to last. It can last a day, it can last a minute, it can last weeks, it can last months. I have no idea
and it happens
how long it's going to happen.
All of a sudden, because I remember, it's funny, but it ain't funny.
It's funny now. We can talk less about it.
I remember we lived in Hawaiian Terrace. So Hawaiian Terrace had the tri-level townhouses, right? And I'll be downstairs, and maybe my homeboys or somebody would be over, and you just hear boom, 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 boom. And like, I know that meant you fell down the steps.
That's it. I just got out.
And then my boys would be like, man, what happened? I'm like, oh, my mom just fell down the steps. It's cool. Like, because I knew you'd be straight in a minute. I was like, oh, she gonna get up in a minute. Because you'll be like, I'm good or something. You're like, I'm all right. I'll be okay. And they be looking at me like, bro, your mom just fell down the steps. Like, no, man, that's how I go around here, bro. Folks fall down the steps around here. We just let it go.
Let's go.
And people used to look at me because like, it just stuff, what happened, I think, with me would be the suddenness, because, like, you would be cool.
Next minute.
So that, I'll never forget, bro, my junior year in high school. So you have episodes, or people call them episodes. Mm-hmm. You was at one of my games, and you had an episode in the middle of the game. And you and Malik were not married, but he was there.
Yeah.
So he had to carry you. And sometimes when you would have episodes, it looked a lot like intoxication almost.
Because my gait was off too.
Oh man,
my gait was off.
So I didn't know till after the game, man. Folks was like, man, your mom came to the game drunk, bro. I'm like, no, man, my mom just had an episode, bro. It happens. So it just to be like, I got to a point after a while, like because I had seen you all my life, have episodes, go to hospital, always recover. I just got past the panicking part. Like, it's just like, this is what we do. You know what I mean? When I was in high school, the one time where you had an episode after that car accident, you was in the hospital for a couple weeks. And one day you were having rehab, and me and Terry came over there while you were doing rehab. And of course, I'm with Terry. He turned everything into a joke. He was like, "Oh, that band, that's $100,000 or something like that." Just talking about how much it costs for them to do expensive with the rehab. So it just became part of our life. You know what I'm saying? Where you would have these long periods of like nothing, and then all of a sudden, something triggers it. Like, one was it wasn't my junior. It was my senior year. You had the car accident. Yeah, which triggered a long period, a very long period of where you were out of. I think my whole senior year you were out of work.
Because I was off on disability one time. I was off 2 years straight, and then I came back a year. Then I was off another year, straight year of just disability, not being able to do anything. But by this time, the neurologist and I had established a relationship, because I was like, listen, something's wrong with me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what name you want to put on it, but something's not right. And it usually, and most of the time, it affected my right side. There were times when I was literally numb, paralyzed on one side of my body. And so I learned, and this is actually before they even gave me any kind of diagnosis. I'm right-handed, and I learned how to write with my left hand, and I would start writing down everything that happened to me. Like, I ate, and then after I ate, it took so much energy for me to eat sometimes that I would be at the table. I couldn't get up from the table for an hour. I literally had to put my head down and sleep for an hour before I could literally just get up from the table and walk to the living room. And that would take all my energy to do that. So I learned how to write so I could tell him what to do. So when I would come to my appointments, he said, "Okay, Roberta, let me see your notes." But see, I learned then I had to advocate for me. I had to advocate for myself. I couldn't take the medications. The medications caused me issues. So I was unable, even to this day, I still have problems. Me and medications don't comply very well. My body just doesn't like a lot of stuff. So, but you know, and we laugh, and I laughed then not because I was not taking what was going on serious. I come from a family where humor got you through a lot of things. You know, not that you kind of dismiss things or you think everything's funny. You know, we didn't do this with other people. I'm not going to go out and laugh at someone. If someone else was going through what I was going, there's no way I would find humor in that. But that's how we coped. Still, laughter, because my mom was like that. My mom had health issues. She had broken her back when I was like 5 in a bus accident. So she had, I remember my mom couldn't walk. I remember she was on a walker, and they said she never was going to walk. So some of that fortitude, or whatever you want to call it, comes from seeing my mom go through things. We had to help her get dressed and undressed. So that's kind of like a family thing. And anybody knew Rudy knew he laughed at everything. Everything was funny to him. But we still know how to be serious. So yeah, we can laugh at these things now. I laughed then because the time I fell, I remember boom, boom, boom down that stairs.
Man. They were like, man, what's going on?
Here we go. And I'm laughing while I'm going because it's like, I can't do nothing about it. But here I go.
Just see where I land.
Just be still, And sometimes I can get up. Sometimes I couldn't. Sometimes Malik had to come get me, or you had to come get me, pick me up, help me get in the chair or back in the bed or whatever it was. But I just had this determination that I don't even think that I thought of it as determination. I think I always knew I just did what had to be done.
Right.
You know, whether it was with you, with, you know, your sisters, or with my life, or with the first people in my life, with family. It's like, okay, this needs to be done. Just like with getting Antoinette. Antoinette came to stay with me. She was 23, my niece. She came to stay with me. I was only 23, and I took on this 6-year-old that had a lot of things going on in her life. And people say, well, you're too young. I said, but she's family.
Right.
You know, and I never thought about I'm too young to take it on or this, that, and the other. It's like, this needs to be done, and I need to do it. So that's how I looked at, and still look at things in my life. It's like, what do I need to do to make things happen, to be right, if it's possible? So, but also on the other side, it wasn't easy. I went through depression. They tried to put me on medication. I refused to take medication because that was not going to help me get where I'm supposed to go. Because I know depression was normal. Going through the crap I was going through,
Right.
you're going to be depressed.
Right.
And so I got to the point where I allowed myself, okay, Roberta, you depressed, waddle in it, just lay in it, roll around in it. Don't try to fight it, let it happen. And I might stay like that a couple of days or so. And then it's like, okay, Roberta, now you got to get up and push through this now. You had your pity party. You got to get up and get to moving. Yeah.
So, let's kind of fast forward to like where you started to, I think, take total control of your health and getting better, and you start looking at it from a more holistic standpoint versus traditional medicine. I think for me, I remember I went to college in the fall of 95, and when I came back home, it seems like right around that time is where you start. So one thing I will say, you always really had like, were pretty a healthy person. I remember growing up, I remember you used to play softball. I remember you used to play volleyball. We always generally had, comparatively to other people, maybe a healthy eating lifestyle comparatively. We never ate a lot of fried foods when I was growing up. We wasn't eating a lot of fried chicken. Ate a lot of baked. Boy, I ate a lot of baked chicken growing up.
A lot of chicken.
That's why I love chicken now. You know what I'm saying? We ate a lot. Like, I don't remember us eating a lot of, we didn't eat pork. We ate a lot of, we didn't eat a lot of beef. It was usually chicken. Just ate a whole lot of chicken, turkey,
some ground beef,
a lot of baked goods. I wasn't a kid that had like a bunch of fruit juices and Kool-Aid, and I'm like, no Kool-Aid. So when I got out on my own, one thing I fell in love with, I ate a lot of kids cereal, because we never had kids cereal. We had shredded wheat and grape nuts, and all these old people cereals in the house. Cheerios, not Honey Nut Cheerios. Cheerios, and we didn't have like regular sugar, like in the house, like most black folks got sugar. So I wasn't putting sugar on the Cheerios either. So we was putting honey. We had honey on our cereal. Bruh. So it was generally healthy, you know what I'm saying, when I was growing up. So I remember, so like right now, like people are into juicing. I remember when the Juice Man Juicer came out. This is 91, 92.
Early 90s, yeah.
You've been juicing since the early 90s.
Then, actually.
Like, you've been juicing since I mean, how many Juice Man Juicers you go through?
I can't tell you.
So juicing, but I think, when I came back from college that first year, around that time is when you kind of start looking at it from a more holistic standpoint. Can you talk about like what got you into a more holistic health lifestyle and looking at that versus traditional medicines, and what it did for you in your health? Like, what things you did to get you to, well, you're at 67 and you're healthier, way healthier at 67 than when you were 37.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, at around age 19, this before I knew something was wrong. Now, I grew up in a household where everything was fried.
Right.
It was just the way it was, everything was fried. I didn't think you could eat certain foods without frying it, because that's how I grew up. I grew up, you know, we ate pork, it was just normal stuff. You cook greens and stuff. The first time I cooked some greens on my own, because I thought greens had to cook all day. But I realized what you were cooking all day was to get that pork done, So I started making some changes. I at 19, I had never eaten a salad. Never had a salad before. Never. So I started doing I knew something wasn't quite right. I didn't know what. I said, well, let me change my eating habits. I was a sugarholic. I don't want to make it seem like all my life I just been on this path. I was a candy eater every day, 2 candy bars a day. That was pretty normal for me. Eating chips and stuff like that. Wasn't drinking water. I did drink. Now I drank pop and soda, but I wasn't like every day a lot. But I drank soda. So there's a lot of things that I was looking at before I got between 19 up to like my late 20s and stuff. I was making little changes that I was in control of. Right. So that's kind of how I got started. But as time went on, I started looking. I'm trying to remember how I got into herbs. I can't remember how I even got into herbs. But I started getting into looking at supplements and things and studying and researching, Roberta the researcher, things that might help some of these symptoms I was having. So that's kind of how I started. So by the time I was in my late 20s into my 30s, I started realizing, and I was going to an herbalist, and I was realizing, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I was buying books, and just like y'all tease me about being on Amazon since 1999. I started buying books, and most of them were health books. They were, some were for relaxation or for pleasure or whatever, but I started buying books on different herbs, different holistic things. That's kind of how I started, and I started incorporating things, eliminating things from my diet, and making different changes like that. So that's how I got started doing that, just basically being my own researcher, educating myself, and introducing things to you guys. Just, and not, the juicing thing, and it's like juicing is good. I went on a juicing kick. I started eating more fresh vegetables, definitely eating salads. And there was a time that every meal, every at least one salad every day, I ate a salad for either lunch or dinner or both. No matter what else I fixed, we had salad, we had vegetables, like you said, stop frying foods and stuff like that. I stopped eating pork when you were, I don't know, 7. So I haven't had any pork, intentionally, because we all know what's in the food sometimes. Right. Intentionally eating pork
40
for what, 40 years? So about 40 years now. So that's kind of how I started with that. And as I continued, once I realized that my body was not compatible with most medications, I was like, okay, I've got to find something that's going to help me, because I can't take these medications. Plus, I didn't really want to, but my body severely reacted. And to this day, I severely react to most medications. It's not much of that hardly any medications that I can take and continue to take, because my body reacts. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people, they tell you, oh, you'll get used to it. I was told, oh, you'll get used to it. I said, no, that first time my body reacts, that's my body saying, no, no, that's not good for me. This is not compatible with me. But I'm not going to do an herbal class right now. Right. But so from there, I just kept educating myself. And then in my 40s, I decided, to go to school and get a degree. So I started working on I think it was about 45, 46, somewhere up in that age range. I decided to get my, it's a doctor of naturopathy degree. It's a traditional doctor of naturopathy degree. So I got that, which is not really recognized anymore, but it was the more holistic side. It's not the traditional like a medical doctor, so right. I can't say that I'm a doctor. Right. But the education, can't nobody take that away from me, what I earned from up there. And then became a reflexologist, started my business, Healthy Souls. And so from there, that's where I found that that's my passion. Became a reflexologist.
Oh, you don't skip out on no certification. You got.
What? What's
How old were you when you got your certification as a personal trainer?
Oh, 64.
64 years old and got
64.
certified as a personal trainer.
So now I'm a senior fitness and nutrition specialist. So I got my personal training degree at 64.
64.
And I'm 67 and I'm working on some other stuff. I'm not finished.
Right.
So I'm actually working on a master life coach certification now. And I got a couple more I'm going to do. So
just to kind of go back, a lot of times, all right, so I'm 46, so I know a lot of people, unfortunately, in our lives feel like when you get to a certain age, like your opportunity to do certain things are past you. So you got your first certification or whatever you want to call it, and a degree at what age?
By the time I finished my Dr. Naturopath degree, I think I was 52.
52 years old, and now at 67, you're still pursuing different certifications.
Absolutely.
So can you tell them about now what you are doing now in regards to your business, which is again in the health space? So tell them what you got going on as far as your business goes.
Okay. I'm co-owner of a business called Reflex Fit here in Cincinnati, Ohio. My business partner, is Alicia Stevenson. And a little bit her, I got to throw that in because that's my girl, my partner. She is a stage 3 colon cancer survivor. And she was diagnosed at 33. She was a former Cincinnati police officer. She's about to turn 40 this year. But she came to me as a client, a reflexology client referred by my brother Charles. So what we do, we offer, of course, we do reflexology, Reiki. I'm also a Reiki master, not a master, I'm a Reiki 2 practitioner, and personal training, all those things I talked about. And we have a business here in Cincinnati in the Finneytown area, 800 Compton, Suite 6. But we offer classes. I teach reflexology. We have nutrition classes that, we do with businesses, schools. We've done some things with Cincinnati Public Schools. We've done some business with some other nonprofits. Cincinnati Police Department, we've done a little bit. So we have done some other things. So what we do is offer education. Education is probably our biggest thing, and just teaching people more to take responsibility for your own life. We're here to coach you, to guide you, to show you that it's all within you. But sometimes we need that guidance and that someone to tell us what it is that we need to do, or how to do it, but not do it for them. And knowing that, we're not doctors, we're not. We don't claim to treat or diagnose or prescribe anything, but to give you suggestions and give you guidance. And even at the age that I am now, I am still pumped every day about what I do. I've slowed down just a little bit. I have to remind them that I am 67. Because they're like, Miss Roberta, you just be hanging in with us, and I would say that's a blessing, because I'm doing more now. The things that I'm doing now, I could not have imagined back then. But I was still doing a lot back then, though, James. You think about it. I was still had my own businesses, working from home. I always tried to do something. But now at this age and point in my life, that I don't feel, it's just a number. As long as you living and breathing, you can pursue your things, because your desires, your hopes, your passions, as long as you're here, you can do them. And that's how I feel. I don't feel like I have to stop because I'm a certain age. Sometimes I think that, but for the most part, it's like I'm here. My mom didn't learn how to drive till she was 60. So it's in me. That entrepreneurial, that keep pushing thing, I got from my parents. My dad worked. And I remember when I was a teenager and we lived in Mount Auburn. And if anybody from Cincinnati knows about Sycamore Hill, coming down Auburn Avenue and going downtown, my dad had to be in his 70s. Dad will walk up and down that hill every day. And I tried, and I was done. I was a teenager. I was like, I don't know what, Daddy lost his mind. But it's that spirit, that never give up, just keep going, it's in us, it's in you, I see it in you. No matter what the trials and tribulations are, you get through them, you get past them, and you just keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess before we go, you can brag on your children.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna start over with this.
My time. Brag on your children.
I am gonna brag on my children because I have a lot to brag about.
Yeah.
We'll talk about our niece later because she gets a lot of attention, and
Right.
that's fine,
Right.
and that's all good. But this man right here, and this is the truth. This is coming from my heart. James has always been a good kid. He's never given me trouble. He gave me some of the
How's it look like from
some of the
kindergarten to
normal
like
stuff.
ninth grade? I a little while. I ain't gonna lie.
And even then, if you in comparison
Right.
to most kids, he was just a normal bad.
Right.
Like,
You're right.
this boy getting on my nerves.
Right,
Had him on punishment the whole summer.
Oh,
Who you think was punished? Me.
Right.
Because I had to stay in the house too.
Right.
But anyway, James I'm not gonna get you right.
you can come.
He's a good son. Like I said, I've never had no real problem with him. And my family sometimes would tell me, "You're so hard on James." I was hard on James for more than one reason. One,
It's the
because
world out here.
yeah, that's right. I'm preparing him for the world, and me going through all that sickness, I honestly didn't know if I was going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to put as much in him as I could to be a good person. And I always told him my job as a mother is to teach you how to take care of yourself.
Man, them
and how to go
lessons.
out. Mama always.
Hold on, can I tell you, this is my favorite? This is my favorite lesson ever. So I graduate from college. I stay home for a minute. Long story short, I end up in Lansing. So I'm in Lansing, and I ended up getting 2 jobs. I was taking a bus at one point. So I needed a car. And I never finance or get credit at all. So I called Mom to try to help me. She was like, well, you go to cars and try to, get credit. Try to get a car. She know I'm not going to be able to do it. So I'm getting on the bus going to car dealerships. All the while, she down in Cincinnati working to help me get a car, knowing that she going to be the one to help me get this car. But she still made me go fill out applications, get turned down, get on that bus just to teach me to try to get on her. And then I called her like, Mama, she's like, oh yeah, well I got this, and this, and I'm working with this. I'm like, why'd you just tell me that?
Life lesson.
Gotta teach me the lessons. Gotta make me go try before she helped me. So that's one of my favorites. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I did. And they both my kids always say, Mama always the lesson.
Man.
But that's life. That's what my parents did. This. That's to show you to walk out. When you walk out here on this world, it was a big motivator for me. It was because I didn't know what my health was going to be. Right. Even though I was positive and making those steps, I was planning. I don't know if you knew this, but I was preparing to pay long-term insurance because this is in my 30s. I'm paying long-term care insurance because I'm thinking at the rate I'm going, by the time I get in my 40s, I may be an invalid. But at the same time, I'm going to, they say, expect the best, but prepare for the worst. That's what I was doing. So it's like, I don't want my kids to be in a position where they got to take care of me. I want them to know they have a life. I want them to have a life. And if life is without me, they can still carry on. Right. So that was one of the things I did. And I know sometimes my son probably like, my mom don't like me. My mama can't stand me. She does this and that. She don't, this and that, the other. But I did the same thing. I used to think my parents were the meanest people on the face of this earth. And I thank God for the lessons that they gave me. Right. But James, he's an excellent father, excellent person. He's a good man, We all got our faults, whatever, because none of us are perfect. But I can honestly say I love you. I'm proud of you, of the man, the father that you are, the growth that you making over your life, because that's what it's about. And it's always something that we can do better. Not that what you're doing is not good, but it's always something that we can do to tweak ourselves even at this age, my eyes are wide open to learning and things. So just continue to be just who you are. Been James Kendrick, J. Ken.
Thank you very much.
And your mama did love you. I can say so much,
I love you
but
too.
I'm grateful, and I show him off. I don't care. I want everybody to know this is my son.
Right.
You know me. You know anywhere I go, this my come here. I want you to meet my son.
Right. I appreciate it. And then I guess where my side from like with growing up is, I mean, as a kid, I always felt like you were harder on me and you were a little more strict on me than like some of my friends were. But I appreciate it. I mean, when you were sick, I did everything I could to help. I know my senior year of high school, I basically worked a full-time job.
Yes.
Me and T-Wall.
Yes.
I feel so bad for my sister, Alnisa. So mom was, like my senior year of high school, mom was really sick. I was working at Boston Chicken like 38, 40 hours a week and going to school. So my best friend from high school, my boy Terry, we would get up. My day would be like, I would get up early. I usually do my homework in the morning because I would get up. If mom was cool, she would get Alnisa ready. If not, I would have to help get her ready. And Alnisa done went to school with some janky ponytails that I tried to pick to get her together. So I would get up, I would get Alnisa, we would run, go get my boy T-Walt. Me and T-Walt would take Alnisa to school, and then we would go to school. And then I would, after school, I'd run Terry to his job real quick, and then I would go work from like 4 to like midnight, come home, go to sleep, and do it over again. And part of me was like, at the time, I didn't really care because one thing it gave me a little more freedom to do what I want. Like people like, I drove my car so much, people thought it was mine. I'm like, no, that's my mama's car. But I had access to it as if it was mine because I wasn't really hanging out. I was going to school. But when I wanted to hang out, that opportunity was allowed to me because I was doing what I wanted to. I was doing what I was supposed to do. I think another thing that kind of showed it matured me a lot, because I remember when you broke down and gave me permission to get my ear pierced. I remember that, like, mom was totally against me having my ear pierced. She was not feeling me getting my ear pierced. I remember she dagged near cried when she gave me permission to get my ear pierced. And a lot of it, she was like, well, you're handling your responsibilities. You're doing so. If you want to get your ear pierced, I was like, oh, thank you. I was at Terry's house 10 minutes later with a needle in my ear. I was out of there. But as much as I did, you know what I'm saying, I basically left home, went to college at 19. And those last 2 years of high school was probably the hardest with my health. But Alnisa has basically, you and Alnisa have lived in the separate households. Alnisa is 30 what? 35. Y'all have what, 7 years where y'all didn't live together?
10.
So maybe 10 years. So as much as I have done and been there, my sister Alnisa has been there even much longer period of time and has seen you go through some stuff that I ain't even really have to go through. So kind of talk about just Alnisa in general and really how she's helped you in this process.
Oh, wow. Well, first, let me say what James did. Like, he was talking about going to school and working 40 hours a week, playing football, I remember. He was playing football, working 40 hours, taking care of Alnisa, taking her back to school. You were paying bills, helping pay bills. And I know with the car, the only thing I required of you is you had to pay your own insurance.
Own insurance. Yes, sir.
On the car, because I couldn't afford it, because I wasn't working. So it's like, I can't, I mean, like my rent, my insurance, of course, at that age, it tripled, it quadrupled. It's like, well, I can't pay your portion. I'll continue to pay mine, but you got to pay yours. Mm-hmm. And he did it. And as far as I know, he never complained to me. He never, I don't ever remember you like, Mom, I don't want to do it. I don't remember any of that. You just,
I was cool.
Do this, do that. Yes. Okay, Mom. All right. Got this, got that.
I'll tell you what really made it easy, and I ain't gonna even lie, is Terry. Me and Terry were like, it's like almost like my brother then. Yeah, so I had somebody that was like knew every, like, I don't even lie. One day I was dozing off in one of my classes, right? I was dozing off in class, and the teacher said something to me. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, man, I work 40 hours a week. She was like, don't no kid work 40 hours a week. Terry was like, he do.
He worked 40 hours a week.
So, like, that's somebody I had experience with. And again, it, like, because I work so much, even though I was paying bills, like, I had my own money. So I could do what I want with my money. And like I said, me doing that allowed me maybe more freedoms than no, because one, I'm not gonna do nothing stupid.
Trusted you.
And two, it's just like I never really, like, when I told you I want to go such and such, I'm going here and there, and it was never like no, because one, I'm not gonna go nowhere I'm supposed to, and I kind of earned it. So I really wasn't tripping. I was tired, but I wasn't really tripping. And like I said, I still got to play football. I still had the opportunity to go to college. So nothing, I didn't lose out on nothing. It was just time. Like, I just had a lot of time. And even though I helped with bills, I had an understanding, like, yeah, I'm paying car insurance, but I drive the car more than you do. Yeah, I have to pay for my own gas, but I'm drive the car more than you do. I'm allowed to go where I want. So I wasn't really tripping. I wasn't tripping. I was 18 and I was just like,
this is what it
living
is.
life. This is what it is. I was just tired, but I was cool with it.
Yeah, so I've been blessed with both of my children, and I've asked both of you, either together or separately, did y'all have any resentments? Because some kids would resent that. Like, I have to take care of my mom. I got to do this, and I honestly, neither have said. They both say, no, Mom, you don't. It's just where it was. That was just normal life for us. So I'm blessed to have guys, because some children might not have been as gracious and understanding or whatever. It's just like with me, my mom, us having to get a dress. It was like, don't everybody do that for their parents? I don't know anything different.
Right.
So that's how it is. But James was 8. No, Alnisa was 8 when James went off to college. So it was just Alnisa and I. So Alnisa has been like, we've been like this, and she's the one who, like James has seen a lot more of the downside of my health, and was there. And when she was in elementary school, junior high school, she would have to come home and get me undressed, and cook, or fix my food or whatever, because I wasn't able to. I may have worked. I worked. But then by the time I got home, I had absolutely nothing left to give. And so she had to be a lot more independent and was always there for me. And then even as she grew up, she still had to. And even now, she's kind of like the person who knows everything about me. If I have to go to the doctor, there's a couple of years ago, I was going through some crisis because some medications or some other stuff failed and fractured some ribs and whatever. And my body reacted, and she had to come. I remember
that night.
Yes.
She called me. I had to calm her down. She called me like, because you had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
She called me. I think you had to have, did they call an ambulance that time?
Several times.
So that time she called, I was like, and here's where, like, that sibling stuff where we both have a shared experience. She was panicking, and so again, in my mind, it's like, we see Mom go through this health stuff. She all recovered. So in my mind, first thing I go to, like, whatever's going on is gonna be straight eventually. So I had to calm her down. Basically, like, look, we know how this go. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, just calm down. She gonna be straight. I was like, you have to be calm, so she stay calm.
She's never showed to my face.
And I told her, like, you got to. I was basically like, chill out, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But she was really scared, you know what I mean? But continue. I'm sorry.
But I was just saying, she's the one who knows everything about me when I have these crises. So what happens, my body goes into what looks like seizures or convulsions whenever I take certain medication, or it's something that doesn't agree with my body, whether it's food or whatever. My body goes into this weird central nervous system craziness even to this day. But she's the one who can let them know, because I think this one time I was in the hospital and they would test, I had to take high blood pressure medicine because some other medicine, some steroids I had to take because of a surgery, so it became a ripple effect. And I couldn't talk. I'm in the hospital. I can't talk, but I kind of feel this seizure getting ready or whatever it is coming on. And fortunately, we lived like 5 minutes from the hospital. And I called her while I could still talk because I knew my speech was going to go away. I said, I need you to come over here right now. Explain to them not to give me no medicine.
Okay.
So she came over, she got there, and they were talking about giving me muscle relaxers, would have had the opposite effect on my body. And she had to let them know, look, this is what it did, you can't give her any medicine. You can't give her muscle relaxers. At this time, I can't talk. I can't. So if was there by myself, who knows what would happen. And there was there's an herbal supplement called Valerian and poppy. I can take that. So Valerian is what's called a calmative. It's supposed to calm you down. But what it does, if I take too much, just like medicine, it'll send me into the same thing. I have to take an exact amount of it for it to calm me down. And she knew that. And so she brought it with me and she explained it to the doctors. Look, she can't do this. This is the only thing that's going to calm her down. So she knows me. So if I'm somewhere else, I didn't know somebody else, if I'm out somewhere and something like that happens to me, no one else would know to do that but Alnisa. But it could send me in a different place. So she's kind of like, I'm the daughter. She's the mom.
Yeah, Mama Alnisa.
She really got it. I said, yes, Mom. So, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for both of my children. God knew the 2 kids I needed in this life. And I can't say no more. Just grateful.
Ooh, see, try to get me. I was like, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get through this however long it takes. It's been over an hour. You try to get me at the end, but I made it. Oh, we made it. But to end, I just want to say that I really appreciate my mom. People ask me about my mom. I say this all about my mom. I was like, my mom raised me. She has certain expectations, certain standards, and she was not compromising them at all. And no matter how I felt or anybody else felt, right or wrong, these are her standards, these are her expectations, and she did not, compromise. But at the same time, I have a lot of lessons I don't think I would have turned out the man I am today, the father I am today, the father that I work to be to my sons. Without my mom, I wouldn't be there. I am so proud of where you are, especially in your health journey. I know I've seen the hard work you put in. I mean, and you help other people. You do stuff to help other folks. Like, I'm gonna give a perfect example. Mom makes this cream that I was telling her about my cousin having this knee pain, and Mom came up with this cream. I give it to my cousin. My cousin swear by it. Every time I see my cousin all the time, I'll be like, "How's your knee?" "Oh man, the cream." Talk about the cream all the time. So, though, I am so proud that you were able to find something you had a passion about. And you one thing I tell people, the thing that I am most fortunate about with my parents is that, unfortunately, I'm 46 years old, and a lot of people my age I talk to, they have to talk about the deterioration of their parents. Their parents' health going under, their parents not being able to do the things they used to do. Their parents have to live a more sedentary life where they just can't really do anything and they live their lives. And I'm fortunate that both my parents, my dad is over 70, mom will be 68, and I feel like literally y'all get to live golden years. I'm like, your lives are getting better as you get older, and I feel super blessed for that. I am proud of all the stuff that you're doing.
Thank
and
you.
So to end, I just want to go ahead and
Go ahead. I also want to give credit to his dad and his family. I can say one thing about James, your dad and his family, is that even though all these years, we divorced, I was 24 years old. So I know that I can call anybody, any Kendrick, to this day and say, listen, I need, or can you help? Let's talk, let's do whatever, or I can go visit and feel welcomed. So, your dad and I both, we've had our own personal trials and stuff through life. But we were young. We were very young. We got married. So neither one of us were ready at that time. But we got you. So that's the thing. And you blessed on both sides, especially on your dad's side. You got uncles who ain't going to take no stuff from you, who I think also contributed to you helping you be who you are.
That's who I am
All
today.
of that.
Like, you
helping
know,
you with that.
I mean, you raised me.
Yes.
But I'm a Kendrick.
That's it.
I love my mom's side of the family, but my dad's side, I am a Kendrick. That's
true.
I'm much closer to that side of the family because I've spent, it's weird that you raised me, but I've spent more time with my dad's side of my family.
Yeah.
You know,
I've always sent you down there every
summer from like kindergarten till 10th grade.
Yep.
I spent my first year of college there. I've lived in Clarksville between 2 different stints, 11 years. So I'm just my dad's family, and I always felt fortunate because I'm gonna have an interview with my dad. We'll talk about it. But there was a time in my life my dad wasn't really present, but I was around my dad's brothers. So my uncles, like, I'm fortunate. I've got multiple men in my life, my dad and his brothers, who have fed into me. So I was fortunate in that way. So to end, just tell people again where your business is, where they can find you on social media, so they can take advantage of some of the services you guys offer, and just if they just want more information on the things that you guys offer in the health space. Okay,
we're Reflex Fit, and we're at 800 Compton Road, Suite 6, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45231. We can be reached at 513-834-6259. On Facebook, we are Be Reflex Fit 50. Our website is www.reflexfitwellness.com.
All right. Well, that's my mom. Thanks for spending a little time with me on my little YouTube page. In the car with my people. Like it, subscribe it, tell everybody about it, watch it. Positive content. It gives you an opportunity to learn about people in my life. It allows me to learn more about people that are in my life and just have a little fun. Thank you.